Welcome back to Between Sundays, the podcast where Christians are trying to figure things out where most of life happens. I'm Bobby.
I'm Justus.
I'm Ashlyn.
And I'm Heather.
And today we have our wives on the show, our special guests. We've been talking about this for a while now, having our wives on the show. We've talked about them a lot, off and on.
Yeah, we've gotten their hopes up a couple times and then...
Didn't work out and all that stuff.
And now
they get to be the season
terrified.
Finale. Part
Exactly.
of the season finale. Season 2. A two-parter. So this week and next week. And so today's going to be a fun day, just kind of asking some questions. A little bit about us. Kind of how everybody met. But then also kind of through this week and next week setting up what biblical relationships look like. I think that's one of the big things that we see a lot, especially with teens, because they're always like, I need somebody, or I'm looking for somebody, or I've got to have somebody. And it's like, no, you don't. Just be, alone forever. Not forever, but, date when you're married kind of thing. But, it's definitely something that they always just feel like they can't be alone, or they got to text this person or that person. So, you know what? Let's take some time and I say not just for them. This is anybody setting up biblical relationships, especially nowadays, because there's such a gray area of relationships, how to start relationships, all that stuff. A lot of people thinking that the Bible's irrelevant to some areas of relationships nowadays because they want to align more with culture and things like that. So that's kind of all of this up. So this week we're going to talk about choosing wisely, and then next week we're going to finish off with building wisely. So choosing those relationships and building on those relationships. But it is good to have our wives here today, and it was fun getting all this set up and all this stuff. They finally got the deer in the headlight look off their face whenever we hit record. So we'll see how today goes. Initially, we were going to let them have an episode and then us do an episode. And we didn't know, we couldn't figure out who thought it was more dangerous, them or us, so we just all decided.
I think at the end of the day, we know that's more dangerous.
we knew it. So, but it's going to be a good day today, and we've got some questions today that we're just going to walk through and kind of get rolling with today. And so my question is,
are the first ones kind of like...
Well, it's kind of like getting to know us a little bit, the couples, all that stuff. Okay. So... For y'all, all right, who noticed who first?
This is like the dating. I feel like I need to hold your hand. It's the dating couple game.
So yeah, who noticed who first?
So Justus followed me on Instagram first.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like.
Are you talking about?
Was it like weird? Was it weirdly following? Like you started liking random pictures and stuff like that?
No.
Okay, you didn't like go back 2 years to like something.
No.
Okay.
No, it wasn't.
I wasn't. I don't think I was that.
No, it was. You weren't that weird.
Weird at first, but
he originally slid into the DMs through a Donald Trump post.
Oh,
that I made. I remember
Donald
that.
Trump.
Yeah,
just brings everybody together,
making relationships great again.
That's right. So outside of social media,
So that's what I was trying to think of. So whenever you said that, I was like, who noticed who first? I was thinking about like in person. Weird story with this. We're at Arise, which we're about to go back to Arise, and I give the teenagers this, this is the way to do it.
Casey might find a wife at Arise.
He might.
If he listens to this
praying.
right here.
He very well
may
could
find
be.
One.
He very well could. But no joke, I was sitting there and I told my aunt about Ashlyn. Like I didn't tell nobody else, just my aunt.
Yeah.
And she was like, hey, I saw her while I was going to the bathroom at Arise. Like we passed each other.
Hold on.
Because
Jennifer, shout out Jennifer, she came up to me and was like, "You're Justus's girlfriend."
That's what No. That's what I was getting to. She was on the way to the bathroom, and she comes up to me. She's like, I told them I saw her on the way, and I was like, no way. And she's like, yeah. And I talked to her, and I was like, why did you do she doesn't know who you are.
She said your girlfriend.
I don't.
Yes.
Before.
Yes. But I think she meant it as like a girlfriend.
Oh.
Not like.
Good thing she didn't scare.
So then I went up to Ash. So later on that night, the service is over. y'all are standing over there. Y'all are standing over on your side of where y'all were at.
Yeah.
And Jennifer is like, go talk to her. And I was like, I ain't going to talk to her. And she's like, no, I'm going to force you to go talk to her. And I was like, it's not how this works. So then the youth group starts chanting, and it's getting loud. And I'm like, okay, it's about to cause a scene. So I walk over. I get about right here. She turns and walks away.
No.
Doesn't even, eye contact, walks away. And I turned around. My entire youth group, who's been like, Justus, Justus, is silent. They saw it happen. Silent. And I turned around, and all of them are like,
wow.
And Jennifer, I walked back to Jennifer, and Jennifer's like, we're blocking her on every, like, we ain't. We're not
You're done with her.
That's it.
So
That's it.
I'm like, okay. Ends up, we're standing at the front talking to some preachers. She walks back up to me. She hunts me down then.
Oh, okay.
And then
I did see that roll.
We talked for a little bit, and the rest is history.
There you go.
So that was the first time. So she shut me down first, and then after months and months and months and months of begging, I finally accepted her, and I said, this is.
That's always usually how I guess the story ends on that. Oh.
So how did y'all meet?
So
who noticed who first?
I feel like I probably definitely noticed first, because she wasn't going to Victory at the time. I was in college there. They were coming up and visiting. Actually, her and Scott. Obviously way before I moved here, all that stuff. And then Christy, her cousin, they would come up on Thursdays because Victory was still having their Thursday midweek service.
Oh, yeah.
Way before they changed it to Wednesdays now. You didn't break the chair, did you?
We're going to find out here in a second.
We'll find out. No sudden movements.
No sudden movements.
So anyway, I definitely feel like I noticed her because, and I wasn't the only one. There was definitely a few guys in the dorm that noticed her coming around.
That's how it
all
always
this stuff.
goes.
Talked about, how pretty she was, all that stuff. At the time, she was talking to somebody else. That was per CT trying to play matchmaker, her and another guy. And so I feel like noticed it was probably me for her. She did come up to me first, but she always has fun telling this story, so I'm going to let her tell this story about this.
So, well, I will say, I noticed Bobby singing on stage, and I was like, oh, he's cute. He had a girlfriend, so, I'm respectful. But
I wish
he and
she
his
wouldn't have been at that time, but
oh, that's tea. Anyway, so Bobby and his girlfriend broke up, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna speak to him, and it was during the, what do they call it?
It's Jubilee.
Yeah. Okay. So during their Jubilee, I was up towards the stage. It was after service. Everybody's kind of milling around, talking and everything. And here comes Bobby. And I was like, I'm going to say hey to him. So I spoke to him. And if you know Bobby, he's got a one-track mind, right? Like if he's got his mind on something, he's doing that. He's doing that. So he was like booking it, doing something Brother Brent had asked him to do. Dorm guy, And I say, hey, and he says, what's up? And, kept walking. He did a head nod.
It's not my finest moment.
And kept walking. And I was like, never talking to him again.
Say that. We'll block him on everything.
Block him.
We're done.
Blocked. No, seriously, I was like, never talking to him again. If he didn't even want to stop and talk to me, then,
yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, it wasn't a good day. But Brent's birthday and Chili's resurrected the moment.
Yeah,
or the
we talked about that. I feel like a little bit on
we did.
Brother Brent's podcast.
We did a little bit, yeah. So we were there and sat across from her, and we talked pretty much the whole time. And then she was telling me she was moving to Augusta to go to school. She went to MCG for ultrasound, and kind of not off a post, but through social media. I was scrolling Facebook, and it was like, people you may know. So I messaged her, or friended her and messaged her, and I was like, hey, how's the move going? Or how are things going? Trying to find a common ground. And anyway, started talking more.
There's this great restaurant that we should go to.
Well, he was like, if y'all need help packing up or unloading or whatever, let me know. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
So
That's how it got started.
a little rocky at first, but
Little Rocky.
it worked
It
out.
seems like a common theme, though.
It
So,
does
hey,
seem like.
if it doesn't work out in the first chance, just give it some time. It may
I think
come through.
actually what you need to do is just consider it dead, and then be like, okay.
That's right,
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
You just need to
Yeah.
just say, I'm never.
Lower the
you know.
expectation. Yeah.
If it starts off smooth, it's gonna end rocky. But
Yeah.
if it starts
That's
off
right.
rocky,
That's
If you
right.
write them off, then there's no pressure. So if
Exactly.
it works out, then
That's
yeah.
right.
it's
Casey,
good.
you taking notes over there? He's got
he's got his phone. He's got his notes up.
If we see him just ignoring random girls, just like making eye contact, walking away at her eyes, we know he's.
You
got
got to be really aloof with the women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know what that
He's
word
like-
means. Loofah? Loofah? So, all right. So here's the next question: who took longer to realize this was serious? Like who maybe early on or took longer, kind of realized, okay, this could be long term, or did y'all just both kind of know?
I don't know. On that one. I mean, I was moving. She was staying here, so I was kind of figuring more stuff out. So I had a lot more on my mind, I guess, than
Yeah.
so. I wouldn't necessarily say either of us. Maybe I wasn't as focused on it. As
So were you already planning to move here
quick. Yeah.
for Bible college?
So that's the
before?
whole way I found
Yeah.
was because whenever I decided to move here to go to college, I knew one person, and I did the logical thing to do. I went on Temple's page, and I was like, I'm gonna find some other college guys that are going here,
Yeah.
and see if I can. I don't want to get there and not know anybody. Like I don't like. I'm not like Asher. Like I can't just walk into Walmart and come out with 7 best friends. Like I'm like needing to at least get somebody's name. So I'm like, okay, which is also very dangerous because you don't know what these people here think about these people. So that
Yeah.
was very dangerous. But I was scrolling through and I was like, follow this guy, follow this guy, hey, follow this girl. And then kept scrolling. And that was the only one that I thought, like, that was the only one that I sent a friend request to or anything like that. But I don't even remember how we started talking about that. But that's kind of how that went.
I didn't know that he was coming to college here. Like, that was
Yeah.
kind of a shock to me. Because I think he ended up telling me, like, right after Arise.
She was
he
going to have
like,
her boyfriends and then have me, like, as the long distance one. But
he was like, I'm actually moving to Anderson. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. He was like, yeah, I'm going to the Bible college. And it just, like, floored me because did not know this person from Alabama was going to be coming to the Bible college. But then he came to Jubilee. So
Yeah.
Yep. It was a good time.
I think we were both pretty kind of different situation. We had both come out of long-term relationship. So I was almost 3 years. She was 4 years. So we definitely knew what we didn't want, kind of coming out of those. And just, you know, older, I want to say wiser at the time, maybe a little bit, all that stuff. But kind of going into it, I think because we had known everything that didn't work out, that didn't compliment us, or wasn't pairing well with what we needed in our life, we kind of did things, you know, kind of backwards. We probably started talking marriage way before I'd ever picked out a ring or anything like that. Of course, had the fun phone call of we might move to Washington State before I ever proposed to her and all that stuff. And I have to look at her and say, hey, if you want to marry me, we might be moving 3,000 miles away from here. So I feel like us, because of that, was probably a little earlier on, kind of realizing that it was serious. That definitely, I think very quickly on we both realized we're both people that we could marry, whether it was us or not. You know, I felt like she's a type of person that I want to marry, and I was hoping she was saying the same thing about me at the time. But I think that's kind of, don't you think?
Yeah,
the same way.
I think it actually got serious really fast, but I think because of the place we were at in life and our previous experiences, we just knew that we didn't want to waste time on a relationship if it wasn't the right fit, if it wasn't going to go anywhere. So we just kind of started hitting the hard questions right off the bat and just trying to fill out the situation to say, okay, could this be someone that the Lord wants for me?
Yeah. I think it's a big thing, just not wasting time with it.
Well, it's like the quote, people are either lessons or blessings.
Yes.
And, I think
we knew the lessons. So
yes.
The beauty of that, of just listening to that, is that's a great way to start if you're a non-emotional person. Like, if you can make plans and say, okay, this isn't the Lord's will, but still backing off. I think a lot of young people will have that same talk and say, this is just my life's purpose now.
Yeah.
But really kind of saying, okay, we've been there through the others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of know our eyes are fixed on Christ, but finding that person that's going to be going the right direction is a big thing, instead of just saying, this is the plan that we're going to do now.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, we just realized, we had just wasted time before, and no matter how much we had wanted the other people that were in our lives at the time, we're never going to go down the same road we were going down as far as where we saw God taking our lives. So it's definitely one of those things of, I would say if you're in that case, like, be honest very early. But, if it's where, kind of in y'all's case, younger, just, pray about that. Earnestly look at it from the perspective of a long-term thing. I think that's what's kind of getting into today, talking about our culture and things like that. We don't really look at it from a long-term thing, anymore, of something like, I don't want to get this wrong. Like, it's not fair for, if we get this wrong, it's not fair for anybody, and so, how do we go about that and choose, and I'll say it like this, I know I said earlier, choose wisely. How do we allow God to help us choose wisely? And that's kind of, what we get into today. So I'm just going to throw some questions out there, and, kind of whoever wants to jump in, but, right off the bat, as we look at it, what would you say our generation is getting wrong about dating right now, or has the wrong perspective of dating today?
Because everyone else is doing it, I need one.
Yes.
That's the biggest one that I would say is.
You just made everybody mad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's upsetting to me of seeing people in the youth group, in our youth group, and other youth groups, where they've got one person, a different person each week. And it's not because this person was right one day and wrong the next. It was these people were never right, but we feel like we have to have somebody. And I think a lot of that comes with the devil will give you people to fill the void of you not feeling comfortable in your relationship with you and Christ.
Yeah.
And he'll give you somebody that'll say, hey, you're doing all right. You're doing okay. You are not how bad you think you are. And I think a lot of that comes from people's self-value.
Yeah.
I think you can think of yourself too high, but I don't think a lot of it, I think a lot of it has to do with people will tell you what you want to hear. And we like when people tell us what we want to hear.
Yeah. And
I think a lot of it is, people feel like they don't want to get left behind.
Yeah.
And it's when you realize how big a deal marriage is and how big a deal dating someone to lead to marriage is, it really kind of puts in perspective that I don't need to be doing this just to waste time.
Yeah.
And I don't need to be doing this just to have my own self-esteem raised, or someone think highly of me because I'm in a relationship. So I think the biggest thing is doing it because your friends are having a boyfriend or girlfriend because your friends have a boyfriend or girlfriend.
Yeah.
And tagging off of Justus, I feel like it's very important as a girl to have yourself, like, your identity through Christ first. Because if you don't have that, that goes into why a girl might need or want to have a boyfriend every other week when one doesn't end well. And as women, we need to establish that identity through Christ to have a good balance of what we are looking for a mate, not just searching, but letting them come to you. I mean, I feel like if we're sitting here and we're just putting ourselves out there, because we do, and a lot of the times when we do have new people every time. We have horrible self-worth, but that's not what God says you are. I mean, you can go and read about it, and I challenge you to go and find what God says you are before you even ever get into a relationship, because then you'll know if he's a good guy or maybe he's not the right one.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to figure out who you are first.
Yep.
There was something that I heard a long time ago that women follow what they hear, men follow what they see. So that's why women wear makeup and guys lie. Is you've got to know who you are first, because that's going to be something that comes along the line somewhere, and really figuring out the direction that you're going. That was something big that me and her talked about for a long time. This is what we want to see, is Christ be honored at the end of this.
Yeah.
And it was me asking, hey, this is what I feel the Lord's want me to do. Are you good with tagging along with that? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that was both of our burdens and desires were coming together to find that end goal, but we both had to figure out who we were first. And it wasn't and I don't want to mean it like it's a love yourself situation. Love yourself before you love somebody else, or take time to figure out who you are. No, figure out who Christ says you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Figure out what Christ has done in your life, not what you've done for you, but what Christ has done for you. And I think you can find a lot of purpose in that.
Yeah. Well, I know, kind of looking at our relationship too, we were, again, almost 3 years, 4 years, but then past that, I was almost a year. She was at least a year, I think, if not a little more, of not any desire, not I say any desire, but no drive to say I've got to have a boyfriend or girlfriend. And it was one of those things that I have said several times of, if I can't be happy with who I am, I'm never going to know who I can be happy with.
Yeah.
And so I had changed myself for almost 3 years to be something I wasn't. She had done the same. Mm-hmm. And we almost had to have a reset of who we were and saying, okay, we're discovering who we are again. This is who we're going to be. If that person's okay with it, great. If they're not, I'll find somebody that will be fine with it. And that's kind of really where we were at in it of, and we didn't seek each other. We really do feel like God brought us together in that and kind of more so helped us notice each other than go after each other in that case.
Yeah. I think, again, when you're young, when you're dating someone, well, even later, you tend to kind of not become that person, but you tend to follow, especially us as girls, women. We're naturally, God created us to follow our husbands. So, we tend to take on certain characteristics and that kind of thing. And I'm really thankful that I had that time to just, again, root myself in who God called me to be, how he made me, so that down the road, when the time came, we knew where we stood, we knew our standards that we had for ourselves, and then we could ask the questions of whether this was meant, if it was what God meant for us.
Yeah.
That's good.
So what's we kind of we've talked about a little bit about wrong about dating, and
I would loop those two questions together.
I was gonna say, I think 1 and 2 is kind of getting into, you led into a statement with that of what isn't true, that you just have to have somebody, that we've got to go after somebody. But what's one thing culture says about dating that you disagree with?
You can change them.
Yeah.
That's probably like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is you cannot. You cannot. If they're not rooted in Christ first before they even started talking to you, don't magically think that you're going to be able to get them going to church, get them rooted in Christ. I mean, it's just not going to happen. More on the ends, I've seen several girls who they've dated a guy and they're like, I can get him in, and they're the ones that end up going and being in the world.
Yeah. It's a noble idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You've got to remember, though, with that statement, the only one that can truly change a person is Christ. And if he's not actively changing them, they're probably not one. And I don't think because they didn't go to church before and they didn't do what they were supposed to before and they had terrible relationships, that now that they're dating a Christian, that you're going to be the person that radically changes them. I hate seeing people in bad relationships think that it's going to get better, because it's not saying that it's not, but oftentimes it doesn't. And it's not. This is a big one, especially for women. I feel it's not your responsibility to make this loser a husband. It's not your responsibility to try to say he's not doing what he's supposed to right now because he's young. That needs to be, you drop him, let him figure it out, and then he comes back to you.
Yeah.
Don't try to sit here and make a zero into a hero. That's not your job.
Yeah.
Don't try to fix somebody.
Well, we get called in like, oh, they came to church this week. Well, that's good. Let's step back and see what else is happening.
But this is, and I just want to be honest here. They came to church a lot of times because of you.
Yeah, exactly.
And the second you break up with them, that's the last time they go. And it's not to say that they're a bad person, but you will only take them so far before they take control and they take you the rest of the way. And you can't have a flourishing relationship that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember in our college group at the time, Brother Brent was leading that at Victory, and he made a statement that really honestly was a big help, I believe, in at least on how I viewed her and kind of moving forward as we were dating. But he was talking about, he said, you start walking for the Lord and you take an inventory of everybody that's around you. And then you just keep walking for the Lord and then see who's around you. And then you keep walking for the Lord and see who's around you. Yeah. He said, you're going to start to see the ones that are in it for the right reasons. Right. Now, granted, at the time, he was more addressing that as friendships, but still just as much applicable in dating. And so, it was just one of those things of like, okay, I'm going to walk for God. If I see her progressing, if I see her desires there, not because of my desire, but because she has a desire for God. And like you're talking about, it ain't us just coming because we like each other, but like I can intently see her going after God. She can see me intently going after God. That really was such a big kind of challenge in life when he talked about that of just, you got to see where they're at. So it's okay to step back and watch and see what happens. To
kind of piggyback on what you just said, there was a girl, should have never been talking to her, terrible person, horrible person, regret it every day. But there was a girl that whenever I was in school was trying to get me to date her. And I didn't know what my mom and dad were going to say about it. So finally I told Dad, I said, Dad, I really want to ask this girl out. And he's like, okay. And my mom's like, she doesn't go to church. And Dad was like, okay, well, she really needs to go to church before you date her. So I said, well, she needs to go faithfully to church is what they said. And I said, well, how many, so Dad chimes in and says, well, how many times do you have to steal to be a thief? I was like, one time, Dad. She's just got to go one time. He's like, yeah. He said, but for you to date her, she's got to go to church for 6 months. And I was like, okay. So I told her, she said, that's not a problem. Like I want to get closer to the Lord. I'll start going to church for 6 months. At 5.5 months, I found out she had another boyfriend.
No.
And no joke to me, because that was the point where I was like, the end goal for her was never Christ.
Yeah.
And it was never me the problem. It was always she didn't want to have to do something that she was being forced to do, and go to church was one of those. Like, if you want to pursue this relationship, you've got to go to church for 6 months. And she didn't do it. And I think a lot of times we see about that 6-month period, it's like, all right, this ain't this, I'm going to quit going. And that taught me a lot of lessons of, again, you're not going to change them, but at the same time, you've got to turn around and look around as you're following Christ and see who's really standing with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing. I mean, that, even before we started talking and she stopped talking to the other guy, I saw her still. I mean, they were making an hour and 45-minute drive on Thursdays to come up there. And so that spoke a lot to me of like, okay, she's not even talking to him anymore.
Yeah.
And still wanting to be there and things like that. Still, they were coming up to the singles events with the college and all that stuff. And so, I mean, we can do things for a little bit if we feel like, there's enough motive there, but eventually it fizzles.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's never going to last. So, real quick, and we'll jump into the next section. But do y'all feel like dating is harder today than it used to be?
As far as teenagers go?
I mean, you could say teenagers, and then, you can elaborate for older if need be.
Well, I just think people kind of have too many options out there. They feel like there's a lot of fish in the sea, and they just want to try all the fish out until they find the best one. And I think it's a better idea to sit back and let God lead you and not just say, well, I'm going to talk to this girl and this girl and this girl and this girl. And then if I talk to enough girls, then finally I'll find the one that God wants for me. I think it's more important to let God lead you in that direction. Yeah. So I think that's just kind of a misconception among teenagers and young adults.
I was watching National Geographic the other day, and there is a lot of fish in the sea. There's also a lot of trash in the sea too.
Yeah,
and
good.
You have got to not try to don't try to fill in time.
Yeah,
that's the big thing. It's as Paul said, in whatsoever state I'm in, I've learned to be content. Mm-hmm. And learning to be content where you are at. Even though Paul says be content, God still says, I saw Adam and it wasn't good for him to be alone. Mm-hmm. And so just as much as you can be content, you can still say, Lord, I know you've got somebody for me, and not have to waste time. Jason Holly says a great thing as far as, is it harder today? I don't necessarily think so. I think being so jealous and wrapped up in what other people think of you instead of worrying about what Christ thinks of you.
Yeah.
I think he's done a great job when he comes in youth of talking about dating, that he really does a good job of saying you don't have to compare your relationship to anybody else's.
Yeah.
You've got to just make sure that you and Christ are good. Which
is easy to do as far as comparison because of social media.
Oh, yeah.
And so everybody sees that couple looks so perfect and all this stuff, and I want that, and, he held the door for her. Well, I say that don't happen much nowadays, but, it's one of those things of anything. Comparison is probably one of the biggest things that gets in our mind nowadays because of how connected we are, which is meant to be in a good way, but more times than not is harmful. Yeah. So we kind of talked about dating and culture today. Let's talk about things that matter. All right. So we've talked about, things we disagree with, don't see in culture. Obviously, we don't want to leave them with that. So let's kind of lay out some things that actually matter a little bit. So, what qualities made you take the relationship seriously? Or I'll say it like this: if you don't necessarily want to answer in yours, I mean, you can, but what qualities would you say would help somebody take that, from a biblical standpoint, take that relationship seriously?
If they don't love Christ first, they'll never love you.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one of, you've got to look at what is their, not what is their long-term goal, what is their priority today? Mm-hmm. Is it saying, one day I want to be a missionary, but they have no desire to serve in their church.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I never look, even today, outside of relationships, I never look at what people tell me. I always look at what people are doing. And if they can tell you, again, guys lie, they can tell you all day long that this is what they're wanting their life to be. But if they're not making strides for that, I think she did a really good job of kind of letting me know early on, not with her words, but her actions, of saying, I'm putting God before you. And that was something that I knew I needed. I'll be honest, I didn't at the time know why I needed that. Looking back on it now, I'm so thankful that I listened to people that told me, find somebody that loves Christ more than you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, talking about qualities, I mean, again, obviously we know top tier of God being first in our life. But I don't want to be like, well, he took my answer. You know what I'm saying? But one of the things that I have said this many times, I jokingly say this, Casey's heard me probably say this a lot in Bible class and, youth group and all this stuff. But her willingness to let God use her life, even if it was taking her out of her comfort zone or taking her to places that she would have never have gone, or, not have a full understanding of how God was using her life or our life, is something that stood out to me. And so I say that if I kind of put that in a quality of, find somebody that has that willingness for God to let God use them, no matter what in their life. And I'm not saying that just because I was a preacher or am a preacher and it was her going into the ministry, because I tell people this all the time. God has a purpose for all of us. I think a lot of times we look at it as just the preachers or just the evangelists or missionaries, but at the end of the day, God has a purpose for everybody. God has a calling for everybody, and how we carry out sharing that gospel and living for God does look different for everybody. But for example, there was a young man and a young lady that we were counseling with, that they were getting married. I wasn't doing the wedding, but another preacher was, and they didn't have any counseling. I said, meet me at my house this week. I said, we're going to do this, and we're going to sit down and talk. Well, he had always loved the idea of running a summer camp, like a Christian camp, and they had never talked about it. It was never a conversation. And when they did, you could almost tell some hesitation in her life of it.
Yeah.
And but again, what I was talking about earlier, when I talked to her about going to Washington State, and she sat there a second, and I'll say this, that felt like the longest time ever that somebody did not answer me. Like, it was like, she's about to break up with me right now. And she looked at me and she said, if that's where I have to go to be in God's will, then I'll go. And I remember another conversation we had prior to that, where she's sitting in this class, and it's a bunch of girls that at a young age were like, oh, I felt like God called me to be a preacher's wife. And if that's the case, that's great. If somebody has that, that's fine. I'm not knocking that at all.
Yeah.
But I was talking to her that night after dinner, and she was in tears, and she's like, I've never had that moment. And I looked at her, I said, do you love me? She said, yeah. I said, more importantly, do you love the Lord? She said, yeah. I said, do you want to let God use you? She said, yeah. I said, God will do more with that than he'll do with some moment that somebody had. Mm-hmm. And so if you're, dating somebody and you see God start to lay out some direction for you, and you start to see some pushback, and that person's not willing to even give it a thought or a prayer, or say, you know what, maybe I can serve alongside you in that. I don't know. That was just a big quality about her that to this day has been something I have said God has used her in tremendous ways, just through having an open heart and a willing heart for God to use her.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the next question so that you can, did anybody else have anything they wanted to add to that? I'm gonna go to the next question so that you can kind of answer it, because it's kind of piggybacking off that. But what qualities matter more today than they did when you first met?
What qualities matter today than when we first met? I mean, I would definitely say that one right there, because life does change. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, we're in our, I say second or third season of life. We're in several seasons with different kids and all that stuff. But, we've moved twice for the ministry, gone to new places a couple different times for ministry. And so I definitely say that one as well. But I think as far as what I see now in her as well, as far as the long term rather than the beginning, is one of the things that really in the latter years has developed with us is I believe true honesty with each other. And the reason I say that is in the beginning of dating, we'll say a lot of things that sound good and what people want to hear.
Yeah.
But in our years of being married, we've had to have some pretty direct conversations and some pretty, I say blunt, but pretty truthful conversations as seasons change and as hardships come at times and things like that. And I'm thankful that, and I say this, not that she doesn't encourage me or anything like that, but she's not just a yes wife. She doesn't just say what I want to hear. She tells me what I need to hear. And I would say honesty is one of those things, like you need to find somebody that is willing to tell you what you need to hear. Even if it stinks, even if it's, conversations that are filled with emotion and tears and it's hard to swallow. Some of the best people that have ever been in my life have not been yes people.
Yeah.
And again, we all, in the beginning, we want to make them laugh and we want them to like what we say and all this stuff. We don't want to have those awkward moments. But you know what? Those moments, that's kind of in the beginning of it. But if you want a true biblical, I truly believe able to last relationship, I think honesty has got to be something that has got to be more than just, hey, you look good in that outfit, but hey, we need to talk because I love you and I want us to grow in the Lord together.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think your spouse is probably the most important accountability partner you'll ever have.
Yeah.
And that's where the honesty comes in. You're going to be yourself eventually. As the years go by, they're going to see the worst parts of you. It's just how it is. And
I can only suck in so
yeah,
much
you can only put on a front.
You just get tired after a while.
But
you get tired of drawing on those abs.
I know. I can actually take full breaths after a while. So.
But yeah, I think it's so important that when you're looking for somebody, that it's someone that you look up to. I truly looked up to Bobby and his relationship with the Lord. And as the years have gone by, we have been that accountability for each other.
Yeah.
To say like, hey, what do you think? How do you think we could be doing this differently? Yeah. I think it's such an important thing.
Especially even more so with kids. Just because then you have a whole nother factor in. But again, it's just one of those things. It's easy to put it in cruise control in life. It's so easy to just, okay, we're dating, we're married, and it's just another year gone by. But you've got to evaluate things every once in a while. You've got to take a step back and look at things. And evaluations are about getting down to the truth of it all. If you do inventory in a store, it either tells you sales are really good or sales are really bad, And so it's the same way in those conversations. It's either going to encourage you at where your relationship is, or it's going to be a hard pill to swallow. But if they truly love you and the honesty's coming from the right way, it may, again, sting in the moment, but you'll understand the benefits of it and how much stronger you can be in the relationship on the other side of that honesty in those conversations.
It's good.
So
I was gonna add to that, but you took my answer. So.
Well, I mean, is there anything y'all would add to it? I mean,
No, I mean that's a big one. Learning, and this is kind of one that we'll talk more about later on, but you're dating somebody to marry them.
Yeah.
And you've got to look at it as long term, they're going to change some.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Life for us now wasn't what life was when I was living at the dorm. And we weren't living, with all the bills, and so things change. But really being honest with each other of, again, what Heather said, the best accountability partner you can have is your spouse. And some of the best days that she knows that I don't like to hear it, but her having to say, hey, this ain't about you.
Yeah.
And, yeah, you're right. I need to put my perspective back in place. Really having someone that you can be honest with, but also learning how to let them know that they can be honest with you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of relationships today that they don't feel like they can be honest with the other person, and that's a problem, because you're going to continue growing one way or the other, and you've got to reach a point where you say, I have to be honest with this person.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big one.
Yeah. I think with a lot of that, and I don't think necessarily to go into a full question of it, but it's those things that we kind of have a note of like, you understand quickly, it ain't all about physical attraction. It ain't all about just how they look. I mean,
it helps.
That helps. It definitely does. I mean, when she walked in, I was like, okay, I want to talk to her. It definitely helps.
He said, I'm going to give her the sup, and then I'm going to keep on walking. Be a little
nod.
mysterious.
That's right. It didn't work. It didn't work. There's a reason they stopped doing that a long time ago. But it is one of those things you've got to learn about. Like, it's so much more than just the surface level.
Yeah.
It's who they are as a whole. And some of the most attractive people can be some of the worst people on the inside, or shallowest, or things like that. Yeah. And it's just it's everything together.
Yeah.
As you look at it. So
I think the Lord gives each person different desires. And I think pairing those things together is important, other than holding one over the other.
Yeah.
But that's one that'll get some people in trouble.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna pose to y'all from a female standpoint. All right. What are, if you were talking to some of the teen girls, or anybody even older? Again, I know it's not. Some of our audience isn't just always teens and things like that. But what are some...
Wait a second. Are you saying... Because I know what you're about to ask. Are you saying this for girls to girls? Or are you saying girls to guys?
Like, that girls should be looking for.
Okay.
Like, them to give advice to girls.
Okay.
Of what to be. So, what are some green flags that they should look for, as far as if they say, hey, I want to date this person, or... should I be dating this person? So some green flags.
I say one big thing is...
Has a podcast. That's a big
Have
a podcast.
Yeah. Right, that's when you're established. There. So.
I think observing the guy and seeing how they respect other women in their lives, their mothers, if they have sisters, that kind of thing, just... if they have that foundation of being a respectful man and, valuing women in his life, I think that's a big thing for me. It was.
I would say a green flag would be, this might seem really weird, but like kindness. Kindness is really important, because I feel like sometimes he can be a jerk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just kind of bouncing off of that and kind of together, just do they put themselves first in everything they do? Or can they look outside of themselves and see the needs of others, or look outside of what they're wanting to do in that moment and say, you know, can I help in a certain situation? Right. Being available outside of themselves is a huge thing.
A heart to serve. Like, Justus's heart to serve. I mean,
I'm pushing the mic close to you.
Yeah, thanks. Justus's heart to
serving.
Example.
Good job.
Justus had a big heart to serve, and to me that was really attractive because I also like to serve. And so when we did get married, it just turned into this big thing of serving.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say a green flag, if you were, if y'all were, we know this ain't going to happen, but Casey's got a girlfriend. And and you're kind of giving.
Realize how much it'd be
Casey is locked in now.
Yeah, I know. He's sitting behind the camera. He's gonna have to walk around at some point and kind of give a little wave.
Yeah.
But, what would you give a? Are we talking about green flags right now?
Yes.
Like, what would be a green flag that you would give him of saying she has this quality about her and that's a good thing? Does that make sense? Or did I word it weird?
No. I have said this to Casey a lot. Casey probably knows what I'm about to say. You really need to look for the modesty, how they uphold themselves.
Modest is hottest.
It's more than just dress, too.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying what you have on. It goes into a lot of things. Mm-hmm. A lot of things, really.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a green flag. Okay.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Yeah.
Flag.
Number one green flag.
Yeah.
So what would you say would be if you were talking? If Bobby's talking to another guy, what would your...
Ooh, that we haven't already covered.
That's your green flag would be?
A green flag. I would say, I think they've covered a little bit, but definitely a respect for themselves. I believe it's a big one. And the reason I say that on two sides of the coin, all right? On her side... if she doesn't have that respect for herself, there's still searching she's doing. She's still trying to figure out who she is. She's been molded by something or someone that's caused her to question her self-respect. But I'm going to say this too, because I'm also the person that doesn't say it's all the girl's fault and they should do all this so the guy doesn't have these thoughts and everything either.
Yeah.
On the guy's side, if you're not careful and you find a girl that doesn't have that self-respect about herself, your mind will start to go to a place of what can I say and do to get what I want.
Yeah.
And so we've got to be careful on our side of things because, again, I've heard too many of the conversations of where it throws it all at them of, well, if they didn't dress that way, if they didn't... No, man up, be a man.
Yeah.
Control your thoughts. Don't do anything with an agenda or a motive.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been taught that, get around somebody that will teach you that. Because I know my mind. I know enough guys' minds. And I've seen and I've heard too many stories of a guy that got around somebody that wasn't confident in themselves and knew exactly what to say in that moment. And so it's one of those things that just puts yourself both in a good place to where, she's got that picture of who she is in Christ. She's going after it. Helps hold you accountable to where you don't start to think, hey, I could say this or I could do this and get what I want out of this. And it just helps both sides, I think, in a big way on that. But and again, it's an attractive thing when they have confidence in themselves and they're not just hanging on your every word to find that worth and value. Because, for example, like right now, if there's no doubt that she could go into and have a conversation with my boys and, be confident as to what a godly woman is and say, look, this is how you're going to treat a godly woman, or this is how they need to be treated, or anything like that. And that, I love seeing that in her, of having that confidence in who she is in the Lord. For us as a couple, but then also in, what we try to instill in our kids.
That's good.
So.
That is good. Let's see what the next one is.
So it's the opposite.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So
what are some red flags?
What are
some red flags?
I have one.
Oh, she didn't.
She's
She
quick.
did
I've
not
been waiting for
hesitate.
this one.
She knew the opposite of green was red. She was ready to go.
I've been waiting. Desperation. Someone who is desperate. Or someone who's, well, it kind of goes along with being desperate, but talking to a bunch of girls at one time. Yeah. Big red flag.
Right away.
Kiss of death.
Do not pass go.
What would yours be?
A red flag?
Red flag.
I don't know. I mean, arrogance.
Ooh, good one.
Arrogance, for some reason, just like...
Yeah.
Full
But
stop.
not only that, like, also, I would say, and a green flag is how they treat their mother. But if they treat their mother bad, you don't want them.
Yeah.
You don't want them.
That's good.
Yeah, I've told my boys that before. I was like, do you see me treating mom that way? And they're like, no. I was like, then you ain't treating mom that way. So it's definitely something that they, I was like, and then I throw in that's my wife that you're talking to, you know. But no, I mean, it is a big thing. So, well, I answered the green. You gotta answer
I'm missing the red.
Yeah.
So is this guys to girls? Like you giving Casey advice on red flags?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's locked in again.
Red flag would be. Don't plug your ears. You gotta listen to it. I think a big red flag for a Christian, a man that's wanting to serve the Lord, and that's a big that kind of off topic on topic. That's a big thing. Don't be not serving the Lord and expect to find somebody that is serving the Lord.
Yeah.
You can't have high expectations for somebody that you're not willing to do yourself. That's maybe we'll talk about that later. But I think a red flag for both. Man, that's tough. There's so many. No, I think
Choose one.
really talking that they're going to have big plans of doing something one day.
Yeah.
That's a pet peeve of Justus's.
Yeah, don't. And that's
Couldn't tell.
more of a red flag for me. Of don't tell me you're going to do something. Show me what you're doing now.
Yeah.
I think if they're not serving in church, that's a huge one. It doesn't matter. I truly don't believe there's any small job of serving in church, but they need to be doing something, whether that be nursery. And it doesn't need to be something. I would date you, but one of my red flags is that you don't serve, and then them start serving that way. No.
Yeah.
Find somebody that is serving already. My red flag for me talking to another girl would be if he is a loser, drop him as fast as. Do not hang on to losers. That's one of the biggest things that we talked about in Bible class a couple times, because going through the New Testament, you're going to start talking about dating stuff. Do not try to make a loser somebody. If he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing now, he's not going to do it. It's not your job to raise anybody's son. It's your job to say, this one's a taker and I'll take him, or this one's doing what Christ wants. I'll take him. It's not your job to try to make him or mold him into something that you saw somebody on a movie one time do.
Yeah.
If you want to, you will never make your own Prince Charming. You're gonna have to find him.
That's not what Disney says.
Well, that goes back to the original
It's a fairy
thing.
tale.
That goes back to the original thing. Don't say that this was something that you talked about earlier. People saying, well, I believe the Lord called me to be a preacher's wife, and then do nothing. You can't expect somebody to be serving the Lord, fall head over heels for you, and you're doing nothing, and you're sitting there doing nothing. So serving is a big thing. Christ called us to serve. I can tell anybody that walks through the door and says, "What's the will of God for my life?" To serve Christ. That's the will of God for your life. And if they're not starting with the basics, they're not gonna grow.
Yeah.
So that would be my kind of. I lean more towards. I hate seeing teenagers who are ladies get fooled by guys because they lie. Again, it goes back to it. Guys follow what they see, girls follow what they hear. And they'll hear somebody sound good. They hear somebody that tells them everything they want to hear. And maybe that would be a red flag for me that is don't find somebody that's just trying to have an end goal or their own agenda in mind. The agenda needs to be Christ.
Yeah.
I have one more red flag, and this one is kind of geared more towards people who are already in a relationship. I know we're kind of focusing on who to choose, but for me, someone who's in a relationship, a red flag is this person leading me away from God? You know, am I farther away from God now than what I was before we ever started dating? Or are they pointing me to Christ? So the red flag would be they're leading me away from God.
And I think sometimes in that we have kind of a skewed way of what leading someone towards Christ looks like. Holding the door open for you is not leading you to Christ.
Yeah.
Paying for your meal is not leading you to Christ. Doing what you're supposed to do is not leading you to Christ. This is why I get so upset whenever, we get people that are dating, when young ladies are dating losers in the youth group, because it's like, no, him being kind to you isn't leading you to Christ.
Yeah, that's just being a good person.
He's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So don't take good manners as, well, he's doing what the Lord. No, is he somebody that's holding you accountable with serving? Is he somebody that's holding you accountable with your prayer life? Is he somebody holding you accountable to your Bible reading? In turn, can you hold him accountable? Or is it, hey, did you read your Bible today? But if you question me, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
Don't allow people to manipulate you. So I think that's a great one as far as, what are they doing?
Yeah. I would say one, kind of before we get into the last section today, somebody that may try to get you, and I guess this could be both sides. This isn't just necessarily a guy looking at a girl. This is both sides of the relationship. But if you have, before that relationship, worked hard towards establishing standards or convictions that you have, lines you're not going to cross, things like that, and that person tries to get you to sway or question or say those aren't relevant or anything like that, go against the standards you put into place, I'd say that's a major red flag. Because again, it goes back to you've earnestly tried to seek God and establish your identity in Christ, and if they're getting you to say, well, I know you don't want to do this, but does the Bible really mean that? Or, we can go this far, or we can do this or that. We can find. I say it like this. I tell my boys this all the time. I don't have a house that lives in loopholes. And if they're asking you to find the loopholes in your standards and things like that, I would say that's on either side. Again, whether it's a guy dating a girl and she, gets you to go against those things, or a girl dating a guy, and he gets you to go, any time where they're trying to get you to compromise, I think biblical standards or water down your identity in Christ, if I could say it that way, I think would be a major red flag in that relationship. Because, again, that's not just dishonoring you, that's dishonoring God and what he's established in your life.
Yeah, I think someone also who has the idea of how close can we get to that line?
Yes.
Can we tiptoe that line? Is a big red flag there. I think the green flag would be, let's have a conservative approach. We know the line is here. what can we do to make sure we don't get too close to the line?
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, let's look at our last kind of section here as we're talking about it. And, again, I know a lot of people listening like, oh, this is a dating episode. Y'all probably said the word marriage more than you have anything else.
That's the point.
But that is the point. So kind of just looking at this, what would you say the purpose of dating is? If we're talking about biblically dating someone, from that standard, what would you say the purpose of dating is? Not just holding hands and sharing a ice cream cone. And
What?
I would say the purpose of dating is, first off, to get to know that person, to see if you like them. But not only if you like them, if they abide with your standards that you may have, then that will eventually reach a point of marriage if they abide by all the standards that you have set. I don't feel like we need to just be dating to date. I think we've talked about that earlier. I mean, if you look at your standards and the standards that I feel like you have went in God's word and you feel like these are the good standards for a good godly guy or a good godly girl, and they don't meet any of those, probably shouldn't be dating them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like drop them like a rock. Like, you can go on a date and you probably know by the first or second date if they're who they say they are or if they meet your standards or not. And then you go into the thing of getting to know them.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you just keeping to date somebody just so you won't hurt their feelings, I mean, you're not. There is a preacher and Justus probably knows the saying that I'm getting ready to say, or on the lines of it. You're dating potentially someone else's husband or someone else's wife. So I feel like as Christians, we should be treating them how we would want our wife or husband treated. So if you're dating them to, like I said, and their standards aren't right, leave them, because you don't want to end up in getting in sin and something happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heather, you want to take that before I start?
Yeah.
I don't want to take yours. Like, Bobby keeps taking mine, so I didn't want to take yours if he's going to take mine.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I think the actual purpose to dating, and and this is something that y'all can chime in or correct if you think opposite. I think we have marriage and dating flip-flopped, and we feel like we have to hang on to everyone we date,
Right.
and when we get married, we can drop them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that way. You are dating that person to say, yes, you are a good spouse, or no, you're not a good spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And we're so quick to drop someone after. We see it every day. We have friends. We have people that we know very well that treat marriage as an option, and dating was I had to stay with this person.
Yeah.
You have to look at your dating life as an audition for the starring role in your life. And if you have that flip-flopped, it needs to get right side really fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think we need to normalize breaking up with everyone we disagree with, in the sense that, well, that did something to annoy me, I'm leaving. Because people are still human. But I don't think we need to take things to the extent that often we see people take in dating, where, this continues happening and continues happening and continues happening. We expect one day it just to get better.
Right.
You've really got to say in yourself before you start dating, I have no problem breaking up with them if their end goal isn't my end goal.
Yeah.
Because when you get married, when you say I do, there should never be a thought in your mind of saying we could go back and redo this, because you can't.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest lies the devil has told us. Preacher says it a lot. I think that's an Americanized sin.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Americanized because we go overseas. You don't see that as often.
Yeah.
But you come here, we hang on to terrible relationships while we date them. We get married to them, and then they end up fizzling out.
Mm-hmm.
You've really got to treat it as an interview, as an audition, I'm wondering if this person's going to be with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you'll find yourself very unhappy. You'll find yourself very much outside of the will of God oftentimes.
Yeah, it's a shame. We're more committed in the dating side of things than we are the marriage side of things.
Oh yeah.
Heather and I have talked about that before. It's like they don't want to get married, but let's go put it on a 30-year mortage on a house.
Exactly.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I know that's a simple way of looking at it, but it's so crazy to me that, I mean, and again, I hung on to one 3 years. She hung on 4 years. You know what I'm saying? And we realized, like, it's not worth that. If it's not what God has, it's not worth it. And so I want to get into one kind of last one. I know we've talked, really a lot of these we've answered. Obviously we all feel in here that a relationship should be viewed through the lens of marriage. Not your marriage viewed through the lens of marriage, your dating viewed through the lens of marriage. That, if you're going after somebody again, that's that potential spouse for you. That's that person that God may have for you. But on the flip side, don't ruin that person if they're meant for somebody else.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Don't take away from what God meant for somebody else to have and things like that. So obviously I know we can agree with that, and we've talked a lot about, what to do pursuing somebody, red flags, green flags. We've kind of talked about a lot of that. But I want to kind of end with this. What would you say to somebody if their dating has been more through the lens of loneliness, and how to challenge them to look through the lens of being intentional towards what God has for them in the long term? Because again, so many people, they just like, I got to fill a gap. I got to fill a void. I got to fill time. And so if their lens of dating has been, I don't want to be lonely, how would you challenge them to shift that view or that perspective to the lens of intentionality or a biblical perspective?
I would say I've heard a saying that there's a God-sized hole in our heart that nothing else can fill but Him. And, if we're experiencing loneliness, nothing is going to fulfill us like our relationship with the Lord.
Amen.
There's no...
Casey, you writing this down real quick?
No
Okay.
worldly relationship that is going to fulfill that. And I'm going to say, even in marriage, I love Bobby and he's a great husband, but at the end of the day, I may feel lonely at times. Mm-hmm. Even still, even though I have a spouse and he's committed to me, and nothing is going to make me feel whole like Jesus.
Exactly.
And He's not going to be able to fill that hole for me. So I have to pursue my relationship with the Lord. That is the only thing that's going to satisfy me. And I would say that's the best advice I can give, is just focus on your relationship with the Lord, and God will give you and guide you to who you need to be with.
I feel like if we would just stop, and I mean, Brother Mark says this all the time, stop and stay still. Mm-hmm. When you don't know what to do, just stop and stay still. And God talks to you more in the silence than He does when you're moving and you're all about things. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as a girl, as a Christian, getting your relationship right with Him first and foremost before ever looking for a spouse or potentially a boyfriend is very important, because as Christians, we're looking on that side of dating to marry. But if you're not where you're supposed to be, how do you expect to find a husband or a partner where they're supposed to be? Because your intentions aren't true, because you're not in the Word, or you don't really have the fruits of the Spirit. You're not going to be looking for someone who has the fruits of the Spirit as well. I feel like if you stop, you stay still, you get consistent in serving and being in the Word, it will happen in God's perfect timing. A lot of times, I feel like for me and Justus, or at least for me, when I stopped, a lot of Justus came into the picture. not me going and sitting here trying to find somebody to whatever. And I feel maybe like with you and Bobby, you were out of your relationship. You were out of your relationship. When we stopped and we got our perspective and our intentions in check, most of the time that's when they bring the right person. And God knows. I mean, he has his perfect timing is a whole lot better than ours.
Yeah. I think not shifting blame in this, but I feel like the biggest person that's done a disservice to teenagers is older people pressuring them to think they need a relationship.
Yeah.
Because it does feel a void that the reason I feel this way is because, I'm not in a relationship with anybody. That's something big. I don't think we ever talked about it, but I know we have stopped as far as saying, hey, there's a boyfriend for you, there's a girlfriend for you. And I still mess with Casey, and I'm still going to mess with Casey. But, I wish if there was one thing I could change, it would be just let teenagers be teenagers and live the life that we want them to live, putting Christ first, and not trying to play. And this was something for the adults. I hate that you had to listen to it this far to get something for the old people, the married people, the people that know everything already. But quit playing matchmaker. It's God's job. He does it well. Let him do it.
Yes.
So
that's good.
Absolutely. I want to add to it, a lot of kind of where this is ending at hinges a lot on, all of it on pursuing your relationship with God and finding out who you are in that first. Because, whether intentionally or unintentionally, I mean, I didn't date for a long time. At the latter part of my high school, early part of college, I didn't date anybody and still was in a wrong place when I did start dating, because through that time, the thing I was not doing was pursuing God like I needed to. And so that's the difference. There was a gap before the 3-year relationship and a gap before her. Why is it I'm sitting with her now years later and not with that other person? Because I pursued God before that to know what I needed, and I didn't do that before. And it's one of those things of if we're shifting that focus of, at the beginning of it was just, I was lonely. I wanted, I had some friends, getting girlfriends, all that stuff. I just need somebody. I didn't. All right? I just needed God and to know who I was. When I changed that perspective and it shifted to what God had for me, was obviously when she came along. And it's got to be on that, on who God has you to be. So, I think a lot of good advice today.
Let's do the speed round real quick.
You want to try the speed round?
Let's do the speed round.
Okay.
So we're gonna go. I'll just pull the 2 questions out.
Okay.
As quick as you can. So this is gonna be snappy. Okay.
Speedy fast.
We'll start with Heather. Go Ashlyn. We'll skip me because I don't want to do it, and then we'll do Bobby. I'm just kidding.
Great.
Oh, he gets a pass. Okay.
But Heather, and it's got to be snappy. We got to do it snappy. What is the worst dating advice you ever had?
Worst dating advice I ever had? I don't know if anybody ever gave me. I don't remember.
It's more
dating
marriage.
advice.
You get a lot of marriage, but not really dating.
You didn't get any bad dating advice?
No.
So it's supposed to be like the
Cut
tea
this
at
out.
the end of the. Well, this is. Ashlyn?
I guess that's a good testament to the
I
people
don't
we had
know.
before us.
That is good.
So,
I've never heard bad dating advice. No one really gave dating advice. Really.
Yeah, I never had dating advice.
Marriage advice all the time.
I think the worst dating advice that anybody ever gave me was the person. This is who you're supposed to marry. This is who you're supposed to be with. And I think I've said before, everyone knows God's will for your life, and it's important that you don't listen to them.
yeah.
You've got to find your person for you, not because Joe Schmo said that this is the person that he felt like you were supposed to marry. I think the worst dating advice you could give somebody is like, hey, this person would make a really good wife. I think you should marry him. Like, no, that's not what I would do.
Yeah.
I can think of one now, not for myself, but I remember it with the college guys and the dorm guys. A lot of their thing was like, my wife's got to play the piano. Oh, she can play the piano. She's going to be a good preacher's wife, or she can do this. Like, just because somebody has a talent doesn't mean they're suited for the ministry.
Right.
Yeah. That was one I think, not that was given to me, but it was like, okay, if I took notes of bad perspective, was that right there of just like this unrealistic expectation of who they, not that they want, who they think they deserve.
Yeah.
It was kind of one that kind of helped shaped in ways. So,
what is the best dating advice you ever got? We'll start with Bobby. And
before I met her was don't marry her. The other one. that was the best dating advice that I ever had. So,
you have one?
The best dating advice?
If you was giving it to somebody in the youth group, who would it be? Or not who would it be? What would it be?
What would it be? Get yourself right first.
Heather, do you have anybody?
I think just make sure that there's someone that you can see marriage with in the future. If they're not a person that you can picture being your spouse, then why waste the time?
Yep. That's good. So we've narrowed it down to don't waste your time, don't waste their time, follow God.
Absolutely.
Amen.
There it is.
Absolutely. Hit the button.
Well, I gotta hit the button.
You gotta
today,
hit the
don't
button
I?
today.
There it is.
Well, guys, we hope you, and girls, hope you enjoyed the episode today. Glad to have our wives on today, and they'll be a part of part 2.
We don't have the
week.
buttons, do we?
No, we don't have the buttons. Not today.
Is it the bottom ones?
I don't know. Oh, there it is. Applause for them.
The
Applause for them
applause.
for being on there. But next week, building wise. There it is. Building.
Oh, no, I'm hitting buttons now.
That's what happens when I
Someone
put you
take
in
it away.
charge of the mixer.
I'm not good with buttons.
Building wisely on the relationships and how to pursue it in a godly way. So you heard everything of what not to do, some of what to do today. And so we hope this will put you in a good direction towards what God has for you. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Appreciate y'all.